ready with me as I tell you guys everything that I learned in my private 3-hour makeup lesson with a veteran makeup artist at JungSaemMool Academy. Warning. Everything I was taught, all the tips, tricks, reminders, stuff like that, they were all fitted according to my needs. So my skin type, my texture, my sensitivities, my face shape. And I would say that's the whole point of a private makeup lesson. It's to get the most for you, not just like an overarching framework of makeup tips. So what works for me might not work for you. Now let's get back into it, starting with skin prep. Tip number 1 that I learned, serums. My artist didn't use any lotions or creams for my skin prep. She only used serums. I started using hyaluronic acid.
Okay.
Because
Your skin is kind of dry.
I saw on TikTok that hyaluronic acid is good for dry skin, so I started using hyaluronic acid.
Like my skin is like, I'm using a lot of sugar lime to pack all the hydration. Like you see, I'm not packing on a lot of stuff in the beginning. I'm slowly building up the hydration. So the foundation sticks on a little bit better. 피부에 처음부터 너무 많은 걸 하면 나중에 피부가 다 뱉어내요. 막 듬뿍듬뿍 바르는 게 아니라 화장을 할 때에는 좀 이렇게 라이트하게 해주면서 피부에 천천히 흡수시켜주는 게 중요해요. Maybe.
But yeah, I realized, and that's actually something I do on a daily basis just because I feel like it absorbs into the skin a lot better. Personally for me, if I use creams or lotions before my makeup starts to get cakey and it starts to slip and slide throughout the day. So I don't use lotions or creams, I only stick to serums. Tip number 2, I always thought I was gentle with my face. It turns out I'm not. You have to be even more gentle than what you're doing right now.
피부는 if you treat them nicely, like a baby, it will give you the outcome.
That's one thing I've recently learned. For me personally, I have to be even more gentle because I have redness in my skin. I don't know. There you go. You can see the redness. You can see all the texture. You can see all the pores too. You could see. I self-diagnosed myself as having rosacea.
Because 홍조, your skin has a lot of heat. 그러니까 좀 뜨거운 편이에요. 근데 피부가 뜨거우면 일단 메이크업이 안 받아요. In summer, 피부 needs to be colder than outside weather. 그래야지 피부가 잘 먹고 겨울에는 피부가 밖에 온도보다 좀 따뜻해야지 잘 받아요. 근데 지금 보니까 피부가 예민하고 열감이 있어서 do like a lot of modeling packs or like 그냥 sheet masks to like cool down your skin at the end of the day. 밖에서 많이 다니는 날은 you have to kind of keep your skin temperature down.
Tip number 2. I always thought I had dry skin, but it turns out I might have dehydrated skin. Now, there is a difference between dry skin and dehydrated skin. So straight off the bat, my makeup artist knew that I had dry skin. But
Do you tend to get oily throughout the day?
yeah, I do.
I think you're 수부지.
What's that?
수분 부족형 지성.
I think so too. Like I heard like when you're so dehydrated skin,
Your skin produces more oil to protect it.
yeah.
I think your skin is like that because I can kind of sense it. Skincare 할 때부터 알 수 있어. Like when I touch your skin, it's very dry. It lacks hydration, but it's oily. So try to avoid very oily products. 근데 저녁에 hydration 되는 마스크팩도 좀 많이 해주시고, use a very layer 많이 해줘. Like toner도 레이어를 좀 해주고. Try to kind of push in all the like water to your skin. 근데 water base만 쓰면 또 유분이 없어요. So you need to kind of like 조절해. So whenever daytime, just use water base, hydration base, and at night 약간 유분 있는 크림을 해주고 자야 돼. Because throughout the night it evaporates. So you need to kind of make sure everything is balanced.
So that is it for skin prep. Alright, now let's get into the base routine. I have a lot of like troubles on my face. Large pores, redness, texture, hyperpigmentation. Zoomed out like this, you can't see majority of it because number 1, I'm using a front-facing camera. Number 2, lighting changes up everything. You don't see it from here, but when I zoom up, you'll see everything. I have super large pores right here and on my nose, redness undertone, pigmentation right here, more here. I have texture on my forehead. One of those like very small textures. It's not heavy texture. My skin isn't glass skin. When I came into the makeup lesson, that was like the first thing I was eager to learn about. Like how do I achieve perfect skin looking base. Naturally, the first thing was color correcting, which leads me into tip number 3. Find the right green color corrector if you do have redness. Not all green concealers are the same. What do I mean by this? This is the green concealer that I always use. As you can see, I'm almost out. That's how much I use it. But if you look right here, it's a very pale but still vibrant green. If you look at my chest, I actually have a yellow undertone. So using a vibrant bright green color corrector isn't the right tone for me personally. Instead, the type of green concealer that I should be going for is a muted type of green. This is the green concealer she used on me that day, and you're probably thinking like, Anna, that's just a darker green. No, it's not. It's literally, the undertone is very different. As you can see right here on my skin, it's different. This muted green one will be a lot more natural looking on my skin. It will blend in a lot more naturally rather than the one from Luna. So that's my tip to you guys. If you guys are color correcting, make sure you find the right undertone of color corrector to have the most natural looking finish.
This is specifically made for like very yellow tones. If you go to like Sephora, there's like neon greens. Like, it's so neon. Like, how do you use it on the skin? So 요렇게. So I'm gonna use the brush, and I'm using very little amount and tapping it. Because 각질이 많으면 if you sweep too hard, it's gonna create more 각질. So I'm gonna tap, and I'm not gonna cover everything right now. I'm just gonna go ahead on the most like the reddest area. I'm just gonna use light pressure to kind of swirl around the pores.
Now that leads me into tip number 5, applying your concealer. So I know we're very tempted to put product straight onto our face, but please don't. That's what I learned. Less is more. I know we hear this all the time, but it's really true. And if you want a very nice looking finish, you have to start using less. It's all about patience and I would say technique, which I don't really have. So we're learning together, okay? Load up the concealer on your brush, or you can use a makeup spatula. Get a palette, load some off. Do you guys see how much is coming off your brush? It's all about the control, making sure your brush just has like the right amount of concealer on it. Because then you're gonna just have like this one big ass patchy area that has a lot of concealer and then like less all around. So you really need to start regulating how much product is actually on your brush. And then you wanna use the flat side of the brush to just tap it into the areas you have the most amount of redness. For me, it's like my cheek area. Okay, so I don't have a big concealer brush like my artist did, so it's gonna take a while. In the areas that I do have big pores, I'm gonna use my bristles and sweep it so that I could cover up the pores. The bristles will get into the pores. Alrighty, now this is just the effects of green color correcting alone. As you can see, it did an amazing job at coloring my redness in a very natural way. It looks just like my skin. I look like I am wearing no makeup. Do you guys see it? You don't even see the hint of green in my skin right now. You think I'm lying? I'm gonna just go straight in right now. Do you guys see the difference? Yeah, man. Finding the right color correcting concealer undertone changes the game. This is my entire face now. Color corrected with just green concealer makes a big difference in just cleaning up my skin to make it look very now even. It looks like I have a full face of foundation on, but I don't. It's literally just a light layer of green concealer. Okay, I actually also do have some dark circles underneath my eyes. I'm gonna color correct those areas as well. I'm gonna color correct with this orange for the darkness, but I'm gonna mix it in with this white because the orange is a little too orange. Ooh, the lighting is changing up on me because the weather's getting gloomy and then like bright, gloomy, and then sunny. Now let's move on into foundation. This is what my artist used on me. It's the JungSaemMool Essential Star Sealer Foundation, which leads me into tip number 6. Guys, mix in your concealer with your foundation to amp up the coverage. It does wonders, okay?
So this is the foundation and concealer together. You have to press this in order for the foundation to come out. And mix this with the spatula. I'm gonna mix a little bit of a concealer. The reason why I mix concealer is I can control my own coverage. So if I have like a bad skin day or like let's say it's really red, then I can mix the concealer and pull up the coverage. And if I have good skin there, I can just use the foundation. So by mixing the concealer and making the coverage a little bit higher, I can use less concealer at the next step. 곰탕 색깔.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use the foundation brush now. I'm just gonna evenly distribute them. Start from our V zone. We call this a V zone. So whenever we have a lot of products, we're gonna move from this area. So 그냥 이렇게 발라주고, even cushion foundation, you just have to tap from here. And then I'm gonna slowly move inside. I'm not gonna go from here, here, here. I'm just gonna slowly move this inside. But remember, we have skin corrector underneath, so we're not moving too aggressively. And then where there's a lot of pores, I'm gonna use the tip of the brush to kind of swirl and fill in. Because if we tap, we can't cover all the pores. I'm using very little amount and kind of filling the pore area. Now underneath the eye, close your eyes for me. And now I'm going to do the lid really quick. And now I'm going to flip the brush. Do the same. Use from here, and then move up. Just remember this, tapping is coverage. Sweeping is for gradation. If you can just feel my pressure.
Oh, so like I've actually really realized how gentle you are with your brush.
스킨을 예쁘게 만져주면 the skin pays off. But if you treat your skin with a lot more aggression, 플레이도 더 많이 올라오고, 그리고 처음부터 막 홍조를 막 다 가려야지 이렇게 생각하면 안 돼.
That's me. You know.
It should look like your own skin.
It does.
It shouldn't look like someone else's skin.
This now leads me into tip number 6 or 7, I forgot what we're on. Normally we're taught to start at the center of our face and then blend the product outwards. And I would say if that works for you, all the power to you, you do you. But another technique that you can do is start at the V zone and then blend inward as well as outward for that natural gradient overall effect. If you start at the center of your face and you blend outwards, the outside and the inside has a very, very big contrast. Whereas if you start at the center of your face, blend inward and outward, then these two areas don't have that big of a contrast. So start at the V right here, but also your forehead has an upside down V. That's where you want to put the most amount of products. So for me, it would be the V zone right here. And then blend inward, but also blend outward. And then once again, because I have pores here, I'm gonna be sweeping. I'm also gonna sweep the outside because I don't want like full coverage on the outside of my face. Same thing right here, V, I'm tapping, but I'm blending inward with the bristles and then outward with the bristles. Remember to be very gentle with how much pressure you're putting on your brush. This now leads me into my next tip actually, because I've always struggled being light-handed, putting very light pressure onto my brush. If you find that you're putting on too much pressure, when you're holding your brush, hold it on like the way tip. You literally can't put too much pressure when you're holding onto the tip. Whereas if you're holding it very close to the bristles, you have more control, so you end up applying more pressure. Okay, I just covered up this half of my face now and my skin is skinning. Like this side was already good, but like, come on. Baby dude. Prior to this makeup lesson, I rarely put on foundation with a foundation brush. I've always used like a beauty blender or like a cushion puff. But after this lesson, I was like, wow, the brush technique is like freaking amazing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go buy the same foundation brush my instructor used, which was the Picasso one. So I went to Olive Young and that cost $50. This is my base, but now my foundation. As you can see, I am blank canvassed out, but it's with the most lightest layer of foundation. Like I literally went in with the lightest amount. Now that's pretty much the end of the base routine. Surprise, surprise, it's just color correcting and foundation. You can spot conceal, but I would say like majority of my coverage came with the foundation and the color correcting.